Imagine a 12-story building. Now imagine this colossus, 35 meters tall and weighing 208 tons, being launched into space to cross the planet. This is the RS-28 Sarmat, which NATO, with grim precision, named Satan II. Yes, my friends, Vladimir Putin, speaking directly from a fortified bunker, announced that the test was an unconditional success. He confirmed that the 1st Regiment in Yusur in Siberia will enter operational service later this year. But don't be fooled by Kremlin propaganda. This announcement does not come from a conqueror at the height of his power. It comes from a man who imagined he would win the war in Ukraine in a matter of months, and today, years later, sees his troops bogged down in a swamp of blood and mud. Putin is weakened internally. His own right-hand man, the one who commanded the Russian armed forces, simply disappeared in one of the most violent purges in Moscow's recent history. Russia is facing an economic crisis that erodes every citizen's purchasing power, masked by ironclad censorship and mass manipulation that tries to turn failure into manifest destiny. Today I'll show you why the Satan II is the final move of a player who has nearly run out of options.
Que já perdeu quase todas as fichas.
I'm going to explain to you why this missile has technically made the West's classic defense obsolete, but I'll also reveal why Trump's announcement about the Golden Dome has kept Putin up at night. What's on the table isn't just a weapon, it's an internal message to demoralize troops and a nation that's starting to doubt its own leader. Get ready, because what we're going to analyze now is the exact moment when nuclear paranoia becomes the only survival tool for a cornered regime. My friends, now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video. And then you ask me, but Shimo, why is the Satan II unstoppable? To understand the weight of this threat, we need to break down this machine's technical specs. The Sarmat is a liquid-fueled monster. For many, using liquid fuel in 2026 might seem like a step backward, but hold on. In Russian engineering, this is a brutally efficient choice. It uses a mixture of hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide, hard to say. Imagine that you have an engine that not only burns fuel, but allows for dynamic control and a level of thrust power that solid fuel missiles simply can't achieve at this scale. This allows the Satan II to carry a payload of 10 tons. To give you an idea of what this really means in terms of impact, the Sarmat can be configured with 10 heavy nuclear warheads of 1.2 megatons each. Shall we translate this into your everyday reality? Each of these warheads is 80 times more powerful than the bomb that wiped Hiroshima off the map. My friends, this is dangerous. A single missile has the power to incinerate 10 metropolises simultaneously. If Russia opts for light warheads, the number rises to 16 independent targets. It's an atomic sledgehammer designed to ensure that not a stone is left standing in the West. But the fact that really keeps Pentagon generals up at night is the FOBS system, the Fractional Orbital Bombardment System. A regular ballistic missile follows an arched trajectory like a basketball. The Satan II is different. It can enter low orbit, partially circle the Earth, and attack the United States from the South Pole. But why is that? Is it checkmate? Because all of America's defense infrastructure, NORAD's radars, and Arctic sensors are pointed toward the North Pole. Satan II comes in through the back door where no one is watching. It bypasses the classic shield and strikes the opponent's heart without warning. Besides, the boost phase, the initial launch moment, is extremely short. This drastically reduces the infrared window that satellites use to detect the engine's heat. By the time the alert system in Washington notices that something has launched in Siberia, the Sarmat will already be in orbit, ready to release its re-entry vehicles. It's a weapon made for a first strike. For those who no longer have time for diplomacy and need to ensure total destruction, even before an alert. But while Putin shows off his flying building, Washington isn't standing still. Donald Trump proposed the Golden Dome. And here, we need to correct the common perception. Many people think that the Golden Dome is just a battery of missiles trying to intercept the Sarmat in space. That would be mathematically almost impossible due to the hypersonic speed and the Russian countermeasures, such as decoys. However, and the radar reflectors that Satan II releases to blind the interceptors. The real purpose of the Golden Dome is much more sophisticated, and that's exactly why Putin was furious with the announcement. The Golden Dome is a full integration of low-orbit satellites, artificial intelligence sensors, and intelligence services. The goal isn't just to stop the missile in the air, but to detect movement on the ground before the general on duty presses the button. With the Golden Dome activated, the United States intends to monitor every inch of the Russian silos in real time. They want to see the fuel truck moving through the Siberian snow to detect the heat signature of silo preparations and neutralize the threat through cyber sabotage or precision preemptive strikes even before the launch. Putin knows that if the Golden Dome becomes fully operational, his nuclear trump card loses the element of surprise. Sarmat is a direct response to this total surveillance. That's why it carries the avant-garde hypersonic vehicle. This machine travels at more than 20 times the speed of sound and performs zigzag maneuvers. Russia is trying to create a weapon that's faster than America's all-seeing eye. But in the meantime, the United States faces the challenge of the LGM-35A, LGM-33 project. The cost of the new American ICBM has skyrocketed from $78 billion to $125 billion. And the old silos are incompatible with the new technology. Russia took advantage of this technological move to put the Satan II on the table, trying to prove that even though its economy is in shambles, its power of annihilation remains the greatest on the planet. But now, pay attention, because this is where we get into the mind of Russia's dictator. Why announce the Satan II now with so much fanfare? Because Putin is cornered. The war in Ukraine has drained the Russian treasury and revealed deep flaws in logistics and morale within the ranks. Russia has become a cauldron of tensions. The purges in military leadership show that Putin no longer even trusts his own shadow. When the regime starts making its generals disappear, it's a sign that the power structure is cracking. The announcement of the Sarmat is a message for the domestic audience. It's an adrenaline shot to Russian nationalism. Putin needs to tell his people that we may be suffering from inflation, our children may be dying on the front lines, but we still have the weapon that makes the world tremble. That's the message. The Satan II boosts troop morale and reinforces Putin's political power through fear. It's the use of terror as social cement. He's using the missile to silence internal dissent, showing that any revolt would be crushed by a state that holds the power of the apocalypse. But this message also has a very clear external target, NATO, and especially Germany. Putin observes the massive effort of the Ukrainian defenses and the increase in strike power sent by the West. The Sarmat is its match now, its nuclear blackmail turned into diplomatic routine. He wants every European leader, before signing off on sending new tanks or missiles to Kyiv, to think about the 208-ton giant stationed in Siberia. It's the psychology of the bully who, when cornered, pulls out the heaviest weapon to try to regain control of the room. The problem is that in the nuclear game, when you pull out the weapon, the margin for error disappears. And then, my friends, the gravity of the situation increased exponentially with the new Russian law. Putin now has legal approval to intervene militarily in any neighboring country under the pretext of saving Russian citizens or protecting national interests. Add this to the Satan II operational in Usur, and what we have is no longer a Cold War defined by balance, but an era of active nuclear coercion. The atomic weapon is no longer a last resort instrument to become a tool for managing everyday crises. If Poland arrests a Russian spy, for example, or if a Baltic country decides to close a border, the shadow of the Satan II is immediately cast over the negotiating table. Putin is desperately trying to dictate the rules of the new world through brute force because he knows he can't win in the economy or in civilian technology. And whoever has Satan II tries to impose their will. Whoever has it lives under the constant threat of annihilation that travels at 25,000 kilometers per hour. This is the bunker mafia in its essence. They expect the worst from the world, and that's why they build the worst for the world. Russian paranoia, fueled by centuries of invasions and now by self-inflicted military failure in Ukraine, has created a scenario where striking first seems to be the only way not to disappear. The Sarmat is the armed wing of this. It's the political checkmate that Putin tries to deliver to the West to make up for his weakness in all other areas of national life. And to make matters worse, the New START treaty has officially died. There are no more inspections, no more audits. The real number of active Satan II missiles on Russian soil is now a dark mystery, protected by layers of censorship and propaganda. The world has entered an era without rules, where transparency has been replaced by strategic uncertainty. Russia is accelerating not only the Sarmat, but also systems like the Poseidon, the autonomous nuclear torpedo, and the Burevestnik, trying to create an arsenal that is immune to any kind of future defense. The failure of nuclear diplomacy has brought us back to the brink, my friends, but I want to hear from you. The board has changed and the specter is in the air, faced with a cornered, armed Putin with Satan II. Do you believe the American Golden Dome will be able to neutralize this threat even before launch? Or are we heading down a path of no return? Leave your comment with just one word: Satan or Sentinel. I read every comment to adjust our next intelligence analyses. We created our own intelligence bunker. We are already more than 3,000 analysts funding the truth and decoding the signs of the times. And for you to access it, the link is in the description of the first pinned comment and here in the QR code. Take advantage now and become part of this community that keeps growing. And to protect your mind from social engineering and cultural decline, check out our series and movies channel. Guys, we're now recommending 3 fantastic series. I've already mentioned them in other videos. I'll repeat them here. It's the series Homeland, which deals with the CIA's infiltration in the Middle East. It goes through Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The second series is Tehran, set right in the capital of Iran, with infiltrators, right? Yeah, Mossad and CIA agents infiltrating the Iranian system. This series is impressive, and so is the realism it conveys. And a series that's doing very well on Netflix is FOBS. It's about Israeli intelligence services infiltrating radical movements. On our series and movies channel, we do these analyses for you to enjoy with your family without woke culture, without whining, okay? Well, now we've reached the most important moment. Cheers to your mind. Yes, my friends, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you next time. Until then.